Everyone, the Los Angeles Lakers are actively trying to make some sort of trade. Obviously, the big prize is Kyrie Irving, but they want to do something to upgrade their current roster. The roster is pretty good, it's pretty intact, but they're currently not a contender very likely. You can't rule out a healthy LeBron and Anthony Davis, especially if Anthony Davis can be the monster that we know he can be, then I think they always have a puncher's chance. But the Lakers want to solidify themselves as a legit contender. And Kyrie Irving is the main prize, is the main target. That is who they are trying to acquire. And until they are completely out of the Kyrie Irving race, then they will go and pivot towards these other trades, Utah, Indiana, stuff like that. But there was a recent report that says rival execs think Lakers have enough assets to trade for Kyrie or Turner and Hield. Now, those are the two trades that seem to be most likely available for the Lakers and on the table, right? Supposedly, the Lakers are willing to give up 2 first-round picks. They can get Turner and Hield, and then they're still trying to work out whatever they can work out for Kyrie Irving. Now, if Kyrie Irving falls through, then Turner and Hield are the next best option, next best solution. I mean, some people might feel otherwise, but you get some depth. Anthony Davis is probably going to miss 20-plus games a year. You already got big size with Anthony Davis. Turner just adds more depth, more value, a guy that can shoot, can block, can do a little bit of everything. And if the, Turner and Davis duo can work, that's a pretty scary duo. Good luck trying to score on the inside against those two. But obviously, the ultimate goal is to move off of Russell Westbrook, right? I think that bridge is burnt. There's likely no repairing that. I have said, if worst case scenario, the Lakers can't do a trade and you have to keep Russ, I don't think it's the end of the world, because after this year, you'd have all this salary. But the Lakers, I don't think, want to punt a season or, have a season kind of go down the drain because they kept Russell Westbrook. But I don't want to see the Lakers make a trade that ruins their financial flexibility as well as their future, right? Like the Knicks trade. Many people have questioned, should they do the Knicks trade? Problem is you're taking back a lot of long-term salary that just isn't something you really want to do. And then if LeBron looks at that and goes, I can't win with these guys, and I have these guys for the next 4 years, we have no assets to trade or anything like that, then I could see, LeBron maybe does leave and does walk, and now you're stuck with all these bad contracts when you could have just wrote it out for a year with Westbrook. You'd had 80 to 100 million to go and spend on some new players, and then maybe you do sign Kyrie in the offseason, re-sign LeBron. If LeBron's willing to take a little discount, maybe you can go get another mid-tier guy, something along those lines. If you do the Hield-Turner deal, then that deal, at least that gives you flexibility because Myles Turner is a free agent. You can re-sign him. Buddy Hield, he's an asset that can at least be moved if you need to move him, or if you can, you keep him. Maybe, again, LeBron takes a pretty decent pay cut. Maybe you can kind of work out Kyrie, and maybe, Turner, Kyrie, and LeBron will all take a pay cut to kind of make it work. I mean, they did something similar in Miami, right? Bosh, Wade, and LeBron all took a pretty substantial pay cut in order for the three of them to be able to play together. Kyrie's probably not going to get a max regardless, especially if the Lakers are the only team that wants him. And so does he look at it as like, hey, yeah, I'll take, 10 million less than I usually would a year. LeBron takes, 10 to 15 million less, and then Turner, he signs for 18 million again for like 4 years, and maybe you can get some incline because LeBron's only going to play for another 2 years, something like that. So maybe that contract is backload heavy rather than front load heavy. Maybe there's more money guaranteed, stuff like that. So that way, Hield and Turner both can stay, and you can still get Kyrie. My point is, you can make it work. But the Lakers' ultimate goal is to very likely move off of Russell Westbrook, right? Russell Westbrook even fired his agent because his agent wanted him to stay in LA, play nice, do what's asked of you. If you have to be the sixth man off the bench, be the sixth man off the bench. Do whatever is necessary to fit in with this team, because if you don't, then your value is just going to go down the drain. So play nice, show that you could be a team player and you be good. Russ didn't like that idea, got rid of the agent because he believes he's still that guy. So when it comes to trades, obviously, again, Turner, Hield is the best solution if Kyrie Irving isn't available. And the Lakers aren't going to make any moves until they know Kyrie is available. The Turner-Hield deal isn't likely going anywhere. I mean, there aren't people that are rushing to the door to go sign Buddy Hield. Even the Lakers, I've talked about, I don't really know what their fascination with Buddy Hield is. Now, obviously, if you can get Myles Turner in the deal, then taking on Buddy Hield makes sense because you need the salaries to match in order to trade Russell Westbrook. So you're taking on Hield's, 18, 19 million the next 2 years, and then Myles Turner. You got some depth, you got some shooting, got a little bit of everything. It'd be nice. Also, Now, with a lot of these trades could end up leading to Kyrie, right? So, like, if you could do a deal with Indiana, if that deal really is on the table for 2 firsts, will the Nets say, hey, instead of a first, we'll take Myles Turner, because they can't replace Kyrie Irving. They have to, whatever they get back in a trade is very likely going to be the replacement for Kyrie Irving, or they need assets that they can trade to go get somebody to replace Kyrie Irving, because they are still cap strapped. So if Kyrie leaves next season and just walks out the door and signs with the Lakers, the Nets don't have money to replace him. They still got Ben Simmons. They still got Kevin Durant, both on max. You got, Joe Harris, which is why the Nets want to move Joe Harris in the Kyrie deal. So that way they have a little more cap flexibility. So that way, those two both come off the books. And now they would have about, 18 to 20 million they could squeeze out. If they don't, then they don't really have anything. So that's kind of where they're at. But maybe if you, make a deal with Indiana, you go get Hield and Turner. Maybe you can kind of flip Turner, couple second round picks, maybe throw in like a THT or something and get that to the Nets for Kyrie Irving. Or, maybe they would prefer Kendrick Nunn as like their, Kyrie replacement, Kyrie light type of replacement. Because I've talked about how I think Kendrick Nunn provides a lot of the same stuff Kyrie does. I don't think Kendrick Nunn is as good as Kyrie, but a lot of what the Lakers need from Kyrie, Kendrick Nunn can provide. That shooting, that floor spacing, that second option next to LeBron that can facilitate, the guy that can come off the bench if need be, guy that can play next to LeBron, on the ball, off the ball, whatever. That flexibility is what Kyrie brings, which is why Kyrie's likely the best option, and he's the most impactful player out of all the various trades. But if you could turn let's say the Utah Jazz deal or the Pacers deal or the Knicks deal into Kyrie, then, and turn in a 3-team deal and take some of those players that the Nets might want, flip those for Kyrie. Now the Nets are in a win-win situation. They get some players and some pieces to help them compete. And then if they keep Kevin Durant's got more players to kind of help him lead the charge. Hopefully Ben Simmons finally decides to play and he can kind of get back into, the Philadelphia 76ers, Ben Simmons. And there you go. You got a depth team, you got a solid team, you got a quality team. Many people thought, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid were a contender every year. What is Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons? Especially with a bunch of like really solid role players. They still got TJ Warren. He could be a 20-point-a-game guy. Still got shooters and Seth. You got Patty Mills. They got Nick Claxton, all of that stuff. So they are still in a very good position if they were able to leverage some other players like a Myles Turner, things like that. And then if they want to trade Kevin Durant, that's going to bring back, Brown, right? Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and Derek White, right? Something like that. Well, now you have them to add to Myles Turner or a couple depth pieces or whatever, and you're still a really good, still a really competitive team. So I think however you shake it, the Nets could benefit from the Lakers being able to work these other deals out, and just makes sense to kind of be patient on both fronts. If you're the Lakers, you're being patient, kind of letting the cards fall where they may. And then when it comes to the Nets, you're doing the same thing. See, like, what can the Lakers kind of stir up here? What can they get that maybe we see value in? Because their grand prize is Kyrie Irving. So if we can get a deal to where, they can go trade for these other players and we can use those other players and then give them Kyrie, then perfect. We're in a great position. But I think ultimately, whatever the Lakers do, I think they will make a trade. I think it's a matter of when, not if. I think whether it's Kyrie and Buddy Hield, Kyrie and Joe Harris, Myles Turner and Buddy Hield, I think one of the combinations of the players on screen will likely be a Laker this upcoming season. I think the Indiana deal is really on the table. It's been reported enough that it is on the table. I just think the Lakers are just, again, being patient, seeing what is out there, what are their options in any sort of deal. And if that Indiana Pacers trade really is on the table, again, I don't see it going anywhere. People aren't knocking on the door for Buddy Hield because, as great of a shooter as he is, doesn't really provide much more. So are you really going to go trade for a $19 million a year player if you're a team and he doesn't make you a contender? He doesn't really elevate your team that tremendously. And now you're locked into his contract for 2 years and he's a liability on the defensive end. And if he's not shooting, it's a Duncan Robinson situation all over again. If he ain't red hot, we saw what happened with Duncan Robinson with the Miami Heat. And even Myles Turner. Myles Turner has nothing to do with his talents, has nothing to do with the player himself, but it's just he's an expiring contract, $18 million a year. a lot of the elite teams, they already have a solid center. So it's like, what team is going to trade for Myles Turner that he would want to re-sign with that team and actually stick out for the long haul and not just be a free agent and see what else is out there? That becomes a big problem too. Plus, Myles Turner has expressed interest in playing for the Lakers before, so I think that also might scare off some teams. Like, we go and we trade for Myles Turner, what if he just leaves in free agency and goes signs with the Lakers? That kind of thing. But I do think the Lakers pull off a trade. I do think they kind of figure out a way to get multiple pieces, add depth. I mean, if you look at the Lakers roster currently, it looks like a team that is ready to make a big move. They got a lot of similar players, a lot of players that fit certain schemes and skill sets, but you just look at it and you're just like, they're like a piece or two away from being a legit contender, a real scary team. Whether that's Kyrie Irving, Buddy Hield, and Myles Turner, whether it's the Utah deal, things like that. But also the Lakers, if you're the Lakers, whatever deal you make, you want there to be flexibility for the future as well, whether that's through cap space or assets. I've talked about like Utah, taking on Mike Conley, that's a bad contract. And if you have to move him and you have no draft picks to move him, that becomes a problem. And so at least with Buddy Hield and Myles Turner, they are contracts and assets, especially if Buddy Hield is an expiring deal. Now teams might be willing to take him on because he's an $18 million expiring contract, right? So maybe a team would be willing to make a move for Buddy Hield. Myles Turner, if it doesn't work out, he's a free agent. You could let him go. You could re-sign him. And then even 4 years from now, he's still only 31, 32 years old. If he's still that same Myles Turner, he still has value that you could flip him for assets and pieces and things like that. They're also young enough to, if LeBron leaves, you still have Myles Turner, Buddy Hield, and Anthony Davis. Again, Kyrie is the ultimate goal because even if LeBron leaves, Kyrie and Anthony Davis are still young enough to where they could lead your team, they could lead the charge, and you still have that dynamic duo rather than the big three. So I think however the Lakers shape out, I think they're going to lead up top. But as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think the Lakers do? Do you think the Lakers trade Westbrook and they work out a deal, whether it's the Hield-Turner deal, whether it's the Utah deal, whether it's the Knicks deal, whether it's Kyrie? It's good that the Lakers at least have options and that other execs are acknowledging, like, the Lakers, like, they really have enough to go make a trade for some of the guys that they are trying to acquire. If we got reports where it was like, yeah, nobody's trading for the Lakers assets, then that would be a bit of a problem. But clearly other teams think like, yeah, the Lakers have enough to pull off the Kyrie trade. Nobody's rushing to the door for Kyrie Irving, so the Nets might as well get something for him. Kyrie ends up leaving them next season. They're cap strapped. They're in trouble. What are they going to do? And that could just be an absolute implosion. So that is like, all signs point to the Lakers pulling off something is the point. And yeah, so anyway, again, however you feel about the situation, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.